Welcome back to this channel, guys. So in our last video, we found a way to get the game over UI to get active, but then what we didn't do was that we didn't stop the game from playing. So even if this UI pops up, if this UI should pop up, the game will just still keep going anyway. It doesn't really mind whether it comes on or off. Anyways, in this video today, we're going to find a way to change it. Let me deactivate this, and you can see it sets it on. So it sets it on, but the floor keeps spawning in anyway. So that's what we want to change for this video. So we'll find a way to change all that now. In a way, you can see we are going to beautify. We're going to also beautify the game over screen, make it better than it is right now. It is just white and it's boring. So we're going to add colors. Even though I'm not the best artist, but I'm going to do my best to make sure that things go as planned. So let me open my UI manager now. Let's go in there, and I'll see you in Visual Studio. So inside our UI manager now, what we need to do is to make this game pause completely. Line we forgot to add in our last video, or we did not add. This would be time dot time no, small t time scale, and this would be set equal to 0, right? So this is it. Now when I save this and we can test out our game, I can assure you that everything will be all right now. So let it compile. So now that it's done compiling, let's disable this image and play our video game. And oop, so it comes up again, and watch what happens. You can see that the floor stops getting clones, or it stops getting cloned anyways, which is good. So now it is properly over. That's game over. It's properly that's been set well anyways. So let's cancel this. Let's head back to the UI manager. So you can see all you have to do is set this to 0, and then it's going to kind of pause the entire game. That's the time scale. So so for you to actually beautify this UI, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use we could use the default uh, default designs inside of Unity, which would be alright to add plain colors and just simple designs. But then I just want to give a basic idea of how you can do this outside in another software called Photoshop. You can also use Illustrator, and I think there are many other softwares out there which you can use if you feel like, but then I'll be using Photoshop. So I'm not a very good artist, but let's see how this would be. So over here in Photoshop, all I did was come into file, click on new, click on default size for this canvas, and it's too big anyway. We're still going to reduce this canvas. So let me unlock that. You saw what I just did. I just clicked on something like this, it went off. So my canvas size now is too large. I want to do something for a basic button, or I want to design my button inside of Unity. And what I'll do now is come into image canvas size. I'm going to select the size that will be okay. I think this would do. Let's make this 3 inches. So I think this button should be okay. So I'm going to hold my control, and I'm going to click on this new layer, which should pop something up, and then I'm going to give it somewhat a round edge for the button. I could use, so I'm going to come over here on this tool, the rounded rectangle tool. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to hold on to the edge over here. I'm going to click and drag this so it fills out the entire layer, so to speak, and this should do. So it gives me a nice red color, which I think this should be okay. It resembles, or it reminds me of our player or main character in the game, so I think this color should be kind of okay. And so what I'll do now is I would come over here, and I'm going to rasterize this so I can make it a complete game object, which would be okay to use. Now I'm going to just give it a basic design using my brush tool, and the shortcut for that is the B. So I have this brush, but I don't, let's see, this brush looks kind of nice, so I'm going to, I might just use it, or let me click on this. These brushes are not part of the default for Photoshop. For those who have Photoshop, that is, you have to, there are lots of ways which you can download brushes out there. You can search them using a search engine or via asset store, I think. Yeah, there should be brushes over there, but there is also a way to make brush, and for those who may be interested in that video, maybe you can type down in the comment section so I can do that and show you how to make your own paintbrush using Photoshop. But for now, let's just get to work. And this is what I have right now, so I'm going to take it up so it's kind of light. That's a warmer kind of color. I'm going to reduce my brush size. So what I want to do now is just to give it a basic let's see, edge. So let me control add another layer. That's our controller, and click here, take this up because I want it to be up above this round rectangle, or so to speak, and I'm going to follow the edges. So let me right click this and create a clipping mask, and I'm going to paint this now, just the edge. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. This is not an art class. So just kind of try to follow the edges, follow it. I think I'm almost done. Yep. So this should be okay. Let me alt and select this color and kind of touch these parts. I think they are too big, so let's just touch it. Select this one, paint here. And now this color is what I want. Select this, back up. So that's kind of like the undo in Photoshop. If you click on Ctrl Z twice, it's going to undo and then redo. So if you want to undo maybe a long distance problem, you have to come over here into this kind of forward or backward rewind looking arrows, and then click on it. Then it's going to pop up this steps which you did, and then you select the steps or the step which you want to go back to, and then you start from there. So I'm going to just try and touch the parts which I don't want. So let me just paint this off. So, yep, it should be okay now. So the way I'm going to export this into Photoshop or into Unity uh, is I could just come into file, go to export, and then select the format which you want to export it as, but that would take a long process. So rather, let's go into file, save as. Right now I'm going to locate the folder which I named this, which is in my documents. So let me do this over again. My documents, go into tutor, go into assets, and then since we've not created a folder for this yet, we're going to do it later on. Let me name this BUTT, short for button. Let me save this. And now let's go into Unity where all the magic happens. Let's go into assets. You can see the button up here, so the button is now red. So we want to convert this into a UI, and so we left click on this button, then you can see what it comes in with: texture type, default, texture, shape, and all this stuff which we're not going to be touching. Rather, we go into this texture type, and then we select sprite, 2D, and UI. You can see this. Let's leave it as single because it's just one picture or photo. These pixels per unit 100 should be okay, and we're not going to mess with these settings. You may want to touch it if you want to optimize your game, but I'm not going to be talking about that now. Anyways, let's apply this. When we apply the default settings, you can see it pops out an arrow over here in the bottom, and it gives us a 2D UI element, which is this small picture over here. This is what it looks like. So let's go into our UI manager now. Image, the button now, and then we can drag this to inside this part which says source image. You can see UI sprite, so we can drag this button over here, and you can see that our restart button changes color, and we don't really see the text right now, so we can come down to the text, select the text color, and select white. So I use the picker tool here, pick this so that I selected this white color. You can see it just gives me a simple red, but if you look closer you can see there are slight colors at the edge of the button, which is good for us. Now I'm going to change the name of this button to restart, and I'm going to duplicate this restart, and this would be let's say menu. We'll drag this down, select this, drag it down. Let's go into the menu and change the text from restart. Let's call this menu. This is okay, and then when there is a game over, what else do we have to restart? Main menu. So I think these two buttons should be okay for now. Let's see what happens. And for this raw image, let me take this up a bit, slightly up. For this raw image now, let's just give it a simple color. Of course, if you want to design anything, you can design using your software for designing, graphic design, or whichever artwork you're doing. So you can use any software besides Photoshop if you have a better one, but Photoshop works just well. Anyways, for our raw image now, or image, we're going to select the color. Let me come inside. And something like this should do. So this should be okay for now. This this simple UI for game over should be okay now. And finally, what do I do now? Go into UI, come into text. You can see the text is over here. It's hardly even visible, so let's arrange something. For this paragraph alignment, let's put it in the center. For the font size, let's use something like 20. It should do. And then up here, I'm going to say game over. So it should be okay. And I'm going to drag this up top so we know that the game has ended right about now. We can change the font. You can see I don't have many fonts. I just have Unity's default, which is Arial, and this Liberation think Liberation Sans font, which I don't really see the difference, so let's just stick with the Arial for now. Anyways, so this UI should be okay now. Let's deactivate it and let's see what it looks like right now when I play the game. This is bad. It means that this floor is spawning slower than I expected. So let's change this time to spawn. For this, let's go into our scripts. This would be in our spawn script. So let's check that in Visual Studio, which we're in. So this time to spawn, you wait for seconds. We could put something like 1.5. Let's save this and see how fast this is. Let's play this game. Still slow, so I think we'll just stick with 1. Let's go back to 1. And there, I think 1 is okay now. So we can see that the UI is looking nicer and this is good. So these buttons, I haven't given any of them a function yet. That is why no matter how hard we try to click them, it doesn't really work. And you can see it pauses the game. There are no more clones of the floor and everything is okay now. So this game over UI is working. Then what we do now is we find a way to make our restart button to work. Let's find a way to make that work, and then also our main menu, which we have not yet created anyway. We'll also find a way to do that. So let's go into our Visual Studio. Let's go to UI Manager. So this is for our game over. If game over is true, it calls this. So the next void which I'll be making is public void. restart. So for our restart now, what we do now is we want to load this scene all over again, and the simple way we do that is we call on our scene management. So we can go up here in the using side, and then we type in using Unity engine dot scene management. So inside this restart now, what I'm going to do is type in scene manager dot load scene, and inside this now we could call on the index for the scene, but right now I've not put that into my build settings, and I will explain that later on. But now I'm going to get the title of my scene, and when we go back into Unity, let's check the assets scene. You can see that the name of our scene here is tutor. So all we have to do now is in our Visual Studio, we type in the name of the scene, which is this, and then we close this with a semicolon. Of course, to prevent any errors, what you do now is if you are reloading the scene, you have to set this time scale. We need to set this back to 1, or else it's going to load our scene, but it's not going to understand that it is no longer paused or that our player wants to keep playing the game, since we already froze the game here using 0. So we have to play it now using 1. And the value between 0 and 1 is usually used for like a slow motion scenario or something like that when you are creating a game. But for this now, for this tutorial, I think this should be okay. So let me save this, and we can check in Unity now. So before we play the game now, over here in our image, on our image game object, we're going to drop this down, go to the restart button, and what we do now is you can see down, let's make sure this is the restart, down here where the button script is, or this button on in bracket scripts, you can see all these different functionalities anyway, but we're not touching that now. Anyways, on click, this is what we want to use, and so this would give it the function which we want the button to perform. On click now, we're going to go down here and click on this add to list. So when we do that now, we have to drag in our UI manager game object with the UI script under it. You can see this is our UI manager. So back to the restart, down, you're going to drag this UI manager inside this place, which shows none for now, and then under this no function, we're going to drop this down, go into UI manager, and then click on our restart. Where is it? This is it. So click on restart. Now this button has a function, and we can now play our game to test this out. So let's do this. So there, this is it, and now you can hit on restart. You can see our game is back. And one thing I forgot is the fact that if our sphere, our main character, should go below this screen bound for the Y, down it's supposed to be game over also. So I think we'll do that in the next video. So with this being said, we've come to the end of today. Boy, it's already late here and I need to get to bed. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe for more of my content. Honestly, this has been a really great series, and thank you guys for everything. So see you in my next video anyways.